Hello. Break it down. What's up, guys? What's up? I'm super excited to see everybody here. Richie's here. Good to see you, Rich. Can you believe it? Sorry, I'm just excited. I was texting Rich earlier about it. What's up, UFO 420? John Stokes, Burning. We're live. This isn't some, like pre-record at 4:30. Ashton Forbes said he'd jump on the show, so we were like, we're there. What's up, Horse Liver Fat? What's up, Ellen? What's up, Dorothy? What's up, Nathan? I'm just so excited, you guys. Well, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You know it all, but I'm not going to hold back because we're making this quick. We want that watch play to go up. We know you're going to want to watch every single second. So before we do, I'm just going to bring him on. What's up, dude? Let me turn off the music. Thank you so much for being here today.
What's up, Nikki? What's up, everybody in the chat? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yes, we're so happy that you're here. Jump on, hang out with the Alien Girl family here. Everybody in the chat's ready to see you, ready to say hey. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done for Disclosure. I've seen you transform like a butterfly on everywhere, and you just I'm really excited. I think you are the new voice in ufology. I know we were talking about it earlier, but you're just so humble. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, no, I don't think I'm that great, but I'm just gonna say it. That's one reason I really wanted you to come on the show, why I've always pursued for you to come on the show. Because I just get the feeling that you're going to be one of those go-to guys that these mainstream media outlets call and they're like, hey, come on. You're already getting Glenn Beck. By the way, introductions, you guys. He was just on Glenn Beck this week. And you've also been on Tim Pool. You've been on Glenn Beck, Tim Pool, a couple other ones that
Alex Jones, video. Yeah, some big ones out there for sure. And yeah, I think there's probably more stuff in the future. I will agree that I think that there probably will be some other big stuff, because one thing I'll agree, I think I've seen some debunker comments out there and what have you, and detractors, is that this thing has grown legs of its own. And I would say absolutely it has. That's actually been one of my goals, was to get the videos to a point where like they can never go away again, because there needs to be a response to these videos. I mean, this is just too big. Like I was talking to Ian Carroll last week. I think that's going to drop pretty soon. It's going to be awesome. If you guys are familiar with him, he's a guy that digs. He's like probably the best investigative journalist on the planet right now. He looks into stuff that's conspiracy related, government related, and he's dipping his toe a little bit in some of this UFOlogy stuff. And one of the big comments that he said on a space was like, if the bigger and more important something is, the more we should look into it and to try to determine what its credibility and realistic, how possible it is that it could be like actually real, and that we shouldn't just dismiss it out of hand. The other thing he said too is that he generally finds people more credible that don't think that they like know stuff 100%. And you could apply that to myself, where at this point I've just seen so much evidence and what have you that I feel like 100% confident that these videos are authentic, but there is a little bit of shred of doubt in there. But when you look at the people that are trying to make the videos go away and ignore them, like they have this false sense of confidence where they think that, no, these videos must be fake, but they don't address like all the evidence that's out there that shows them to be real. So just to wrap it up, I'm glad that these videos have gotten a huge swell of support, that there has been this growth, that people are interested in looking at them, because the truth is, they are incredible. Like they blow people's minds, and it moves the paradigm so far beyond what even like a lot of people in UFOlogy were ready for, which is, we were ready for anti-gravity, where we could have some crafts floating around. People are ready for aliens, but are we really ready for warp drive? Like literally just like, wormhole between one location and another, or Stargate, like the TV show? For a lot of people, that they're like, no, that can't be possible. Even people in the UFO community. So I appreciate the people who have looked at it with an open mind, because it is difficult to believe.
Well, and we're talking about bigger issues too. People think that MH370 is just about one thing, but in my own opinion, it's not. It's also about the secrets that the government has. It's also about the technology that the government has that you have focused on quite a bit. That being said, I don't know if you followed Stephen Greer's work, but Stephen Greer talked about how they're holding back a technology that would just be like free energy. Do you think there's any validity to that? Because that's what I love about your work. You're looking for the tech. And I think that's the one thing people should be really upset about, if they should be upset about anything. Not the existence of aliens so much, but the fact that our government's holding back technology and things that could potentially help society. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because the alien stuff, like, if why would they even hide that? I mean, we've got like weird octopuses and squids and whales that people say are basically aliens for the most part in the ocean, that are highly intelligent beings as well. That doesn't seem like something you would hide and hold back. And even for like any of the ufology stuff to be true, there has to be a giant conspiracy at play, which is kind of goes. That's why there is this like ufology and disclosure and conspiracies from the government go hand in hand. But the hiding the technology part is the part where like that becomes national defense, national security. I think I'm almost perfectly in alignment with Dr. Stephen Greer when it comes to the technology side. I was actually just talking about Dr. Greer to one of his friends over the phone earlier today, actually, who's trying to get us connected. And I kind of told them as well. I was like, I don't know about the, Ambassador Bijou from the Andromeda Galaxy stuff, or the, Dr. Stephen Greer is very, he's sure that, the aliens must be benevolent because they could have wiped us out. And I would agree, if they're out there and they have this technology, we're like nothing to them. But I don't know. I'm open. I told him I'm open-minded on that. I don't know what the nature of the phenomenon is in terms of crypto-terrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, future humans. To me, whatever that is, that's cool to find out. But free energy, which is what I've independently concluded this is all about, is like once you start looking into the science of warp drive, and we have all these Defense Intelligence Agency papers about warp drive and dark energy and extra dimensions and traversable wormholes and stargates, you realize that you need this extra dimension, this ether, for this to make sense. And then you also quickly realize, like, dark energy, this thing we don't understand what it is, that we just know the universe must have been able to expand faster than the speed of light. The moment you add the idea of the ether into the mix, now you're like, oh, well, that explains dark energy, like, perfectly. And then the question is, well, if there is this ether, this unlimited source of negative energy, this also ends up becoming a situation where you have an unlimited source of free energy. It's like an oil well that is unlimited, that you can just dip into time and time again, that never runs out of energy. At least from a practical perspective, there's essentially free energy there. And I mean, I've been told, now I haven't seen one of these devices firsthand, but that people can literally create devices like the size of maybe a box or a computer or something like that, that can produce unlimited energy, and it can be unplugged, and it can literally run your entire house and every single device in your house. And that, you could get one of these purchased for, under, let's say, $100,000, which is a lot of money. And that elite people literally buy these today from people who are like government engineers that know how to produce them, that know about this science. And yeah, that would change everything. Like, you can just imagine free energy. And that's what this is all about, because that's what, I mean, even warp drive is amazing, but warp drive is, a technology, it's a utility. And even the weapons could be mass destruction, but free energy will change everything about for everybody on this entire planet.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think definitely also keeps me going in the field, because as you and I may know, it's a controversial topic and people get very emotional. The emotions, the passion, the anger, the love, it's all there, right there, Ashton, on hashtag UFO Twitter. So my question for you, what do you think about hashtag UFO Twitter in general? And I'm clipping this and putting in my documentary, just so you know.
No, Great questions. Yeah, and I am not a huge fan of UFO Twitter or really the UFO community in general. I think there are some great people. I think you're one of them, and a lot of the people who are watching and following are great people that are just people that want to know the truth. But you go through UFO Twitter and you find out that everybody's got their own little niche that they're trying to, you know, uh, push that their own beliefs is what they necessarily want to believe more than anything else. And if anyone infringes upon that or threatens their worldview, then they get very hostile towards them. And I see this not only on the skeptic side, which I kind of expected, which you have these militant debunkers. It goes back to this idea of these Wikipedia editors and what have you that are out there that are really trying to gatekeep information. But you also have it on the believer side of the people that are the experiencers and stuff like that as well, where it's like, even when I came in, a lot of those people have come at me, and there's a lot of people on both sides that absolutely want to see me fail, that are dedicated and committed and seem to have skin in the game on the MH370 videos being fake. So this is the part where it's like, I find the whole community extremely dysfunctional. And when I look at it at a broad scale like that, with all this gatekeeping happening on both sides, it's no surprise to me at all that we haven't been able to achieve disclosure. There's also very few people who are actually looking at the science. I would think that if I'm somebody who wants to prove that aliens exist, the very first thing I would want to do is prove that faster than light travel is possible. Because without that being possible, you've really narrowed down your possibilities of where the phenomena could be coming from. But if faster than light travel is possible, now the idea that aliens could visit us becomes very plausible. Otherwise, how are they getting here from, even Alpha Centauri, the closest star, take hundreds of years at sub light travel using conventional propulsion? And I see almost nobody doing that. Just shout out to like alien scientist Jeremy Reese is one of the few people I see out there digging into the science, looking into it in general. So that's what I would like to see more of in the UFO community, is more people looking into the hard science, looking into fringe science as well, which is like these DIA papers. I don't think it's an accident. There's the Defense Intelligence Agency papers talking about literal warp drive, wormholes, and extra dimensions. To me, that is the plausible deniability for them in the future, when the government has to admit that we've got that technology and the whole world's going like, why are you hiding this? Why are you hiding this? And then they're going to go, no, we weren't hiding it. We wrote all these papers so that everybody knew. They've been on the public since 2010 or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the thing about it is there just seems to be not many people diving into the science, because that's the scientific perspective is really what gets people excited and really want to jump into this. And so I get worried sometimes, and I agree with you. Like, UFO Twitter is just this tiny microcosm of what's actually going on in the giant world of content creation, of getting ideas out of there, and doing deep research anyway. And I know that you really investigate a lot, but I just do have a lot of questions because of my addiction to UFO Twitter. Sure. Because of that, this polarization. Do you think this polarization, because you and I have talked about things and have an understanding, and do you think this polarization in hashtag UFO Twitter, whatever little world, do you think this is more of like a left and right thing? Because the more I get into it, I feel like, okay, people don't like this or that because they want to vote one way or another, at least in terms of Americans. I feel like a lot of the people on the right, I just feel like how do I explain this? I could tell who's left and right, and all we're doing is talking about UFOs. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm assuming. Do you think it's a little bit obvious who's left or right, maybe? Or am I making that up?
You've got really good questions that like nobody's ever asked me, even though I've done like 80 interviews that are out there. And before I answer that too, I want to say that there's also not a lot of people doing investigative reporting either. Like, there's a lot of cases out there that people could be doing investigative reporting on. They could be calling people. Shout out to Chupacabra. Remember when the Miami Mall aliens incident happened? And, I was kind of convinced that nothing happened because I had heard the scanners afterwards, where the scanners didn't say anything. There weren't police talking about aliens being out there. But Chupacabra actually called a lot of the mall shops to get their input and, did you look at your videos to see what was actually going on that night? That's investigative reporting. You don't really, it doesn't take a lot, but just calling people up and figuring it out. Or if we have some, you know, the video of a drone with what that was people are calling like some kind of balloon or whatever. It's like, get in touch with the person who took the video, you know, get their feedback. Where were they? What was it like? This is the kind of stuff where I expect more of. Now, with respect to your question on UFO Twitter, absolutely do I think that there is a pervasive political element within the community, left versus right, that causes extreme dysfunction, which I would never have expected. You would think that UFOs, aliens, whatever, are going to bypass all political stuff. But right away, anything like one of the things people attacked me right away was they looked through all my history the moment I appeared on the scene. They find this lawsuit against the mask mandate in California. And they immediately use it to try to paint me as some right-wing person or something like that, you know, and they do that all the time. Is that they also try to paint me as some, you know, I made a joke about praising Putin, and immediately everybody is jumping on that. And I think that when you look at also even the UFO celebrities, I guess if you want to call them that, you can almost tell who's on what side of that as well. And the problem I have with it, and I'm just going to be really blunt and honest about this, is that I find that the people who are on that I paint as on the left side of that spectrum, they want the stuff to be real, but they don't want to be able to believe that the government would pull off a conspiracy like that, because they think that, okay, you know, if you take it to like the example of the mask stuff or whatever, you know, I think that there's a very clear line left versus right on some of that, but although there's people that cross over on both sides. But if you can't believe that a conspiracy could be pulled off with respect to the government, then it's very difficult for you to figure out what's the box which, you know, aliens can be real and the government can cover it up, but that they don't have this massive power to influence people. In my opinion, the truth is pretty clear that the government manipulates the media, controls the media tells people what to think. And I think people on the right side of the political spectrum have really little problem believing that in general. And generally people on the left side of the political spectrum, at least right now, you know, struggle with that concept. And so that's kind of how I look at it. What I want to say too is that this is not, it's not a thing where it's always like that. Like, I think if you were to go back in the early 2000s in the Bush era, it probably would have been flipped on the head, where people would say, oh, well, the right-wing people would have been the ones saying that the media is telling us the truth, the whole yellow cake uranium and invading Iraq and all this stuff. And then you had people on the left who were questioning the media going, no, they're lying to us, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, it's more about like who's in power at any given moment, and who's in power generally is the one that controls the media. And so I would challenge the celebrities in the UFO community that they need to set aside their political differences. And, you know, for an example, somebody who's on the far right side of that, I would say is like Jack Sarfati, who can't help but throw his politics into every single thing that he talks about out there. Versus me, I'm a little bit more subtle about it. And to me, I think the whole politics stuff is just a big scam anyway. I think the presidents are selected for the most part to be up there. Is set aside that stuff and look at the situation from a purely perspective of like the government must be conducting a conspiracy for any of this stuff to be real. And that means they can be suppressing science as well from the public atmosphere, from the public perspective. And so this is the last thing I'll say too, is that I think that when you look at like the Soul Foundation, my guess is a lot of people in the Soul Foundation probably lean left wing. And I think that even like, is it Ken Knuth? Knuth? I'm sorry, butchering his name. But he was one of the people who was going through the science. I think a lot of those people struggle with the concept of like the government's actually suppressing science from us. And if they were to open their minds to that possibility, I think this whole thing's going to unravel and we're going to have warp drive. We're going to have free energy. It's going to be Star Trek time.
See, and the thing is following the science, and that's what makes it difficult is like someone like me, I can listen all day long to you guys talk science, but still have no idea what's going on. But then I still like to go through documents and check things out. And I found a patent paper once related to an invisibility cloak. And some people told me, well, that's just a document. It doesn't mean anything, but it appears when I look at other information that these invisibility cloaks could very well be real. Do you think that, or am I just taking a shot in the dark? Do you think
I think they've already made them.
Could be real? Right.
No, yeah, I think they've already made them. Yeah, I mean, metamaterials absolutely allow for invisibility cloaks, no question. And I think there's been some videos that people posted where they take like a blanket and people are saying, oh, that's fake, what have you. Maybe that video is fake. I don't know. But metamaterials, beyond any shadow of a doubt, the most basic application is bending light. And if you just bend the light completely around your object, then you have an invisibility cloak. So, and I think that we can potentially even pull that off with just maybe even gravity manipulation, space-time manipulation, and force fields in the future once we unlock the unification of quantum field theory and general relativity. I think that's one of the more simple applications of it possibly. So yeah, I think we're going to have force fields, invisibility, cloaking technology, warp travel, which is essentially like teleportation, but not necessarily dematerialization, rematerialization. I think there's going to be healing aspects, which are going to blow people's minds, like being able to cure cancers and even and viral diseases, even potentially. And then, the free energy, cold fusion, along with the idea of doomsday weapons beyond anything that anybody really comprehends today. So I look at the future, and I've said this many times. I think that our future is either Star Trek or Fallout. Space communism or fascism in a destructive world. Now that's kind of simplifying it a little bit, but the point being that we have to be extremely careful about the use of this technology. That's probably, in my opinion, why they're hiding it. And I don't want people to think of like, well, the people hiding this are evil. I think that everybody is the main character of their own story, and they probably think that they're hiding this technology for the greater good. I was actually just talking to Tommy on Tommy's podcast earlier, and we were talking about this idea of like being the person standing on the wall. Like I think that people like Lou Elizondo, David Grush, they know stuff about this technology, but they know it's national security. And if we were to like I think if we were to come out and say, yes, we zapped MH370, we did it because we didn't want China to have this technology and we wanted to maintain it. I think a majority, maybe even a vast majority of Americans would be like, yeah, America, F yeah. Like that was the right move, even though we like literally potentially killed 239 people. And that's what's kind of a little bit scary about it, but I digress.
Wow, that's a lot. And just not to mention the unaccounted for deaths that have been happening, because Tucker Carlson, when he was on Joe Rogan recently, said, factually, there are lawsuits going through the VA because people don't know where their families are. And you brought up something that was really interesting to me, like a space communism. I use that term quite a bit on my show. Not that one, but cosmic North Korea is what I use. Because I always live in this fear that like maybe we're living in a world and the world beyond it is way different than what we think, because maybe we're kind of being controlled more than we think. I also wanted to touch base with something that you said, because it was brought up by Ron James in the documentary Accidental Truth. Shout out to Ron James, came on the show. We love you so much. Met him in Roswell. But Nicotol, the metamaterials. And in that documentary, they break down how the time that they took in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and they sent the material there, in that same time frame, they like invented this Nicotol. And just the alignment with this stuff sometimes just seems so out of the blue. And it just seems like there's so many correlations. And that's why like the deep research that you're doing matters so much, because it's the things that we miss that make us not be able to, completely disclose anything. So I'm going to change gears a little bit because we're going fast, which is exactly how I wanted it. I love that we're going 45 minutes. So don't you guys go anywhere, because we're going to be gone before you like it. Don't be playing one of those, I'm just hanging out here for a second. You want to hang out here because we're 15 people away from 100 in the chat, which is a huge deal for Alien Girl. Let's keep liking all those things. But the point being is I wanted to change gears real quick because I'm excited about all the new stuff you're researching, because I know this probably ain't the only thing, especially now that you're in the game and people are sending you things and you're like, what's going on? And you and I are cool because we don't like hate on each other if we disagree on things. I've noticed we're just kind of like, that's cool, Amy's cool, Nikki's cool, Ashton's cool, they're cool, you know what I mean? Like they're not messing around. So here we go. What do you think of the mummies? What do you think of the Nazca alien mummies?
I think this is a bit of a misconception about me is I probably have some elements of ego for sure. I think everybody does. And I don't think anybody likes trying to be bullied as well. So a lot of the stuff, like if people disagree, I have no problem. But what you'll find is a lot of people disagree very disrespectfully. And when you have anonymity on the internet, people really feel like they can just be a troll all the time. And if you don't know what trolling is, then you probably are trolling. That's kind of the the lesson I tell people. You should just try to be respectful of people all the time. And if you're out there calling people grifters and liars and what have you, you shouldn't be surprised at all if you get an instant block, or, you know, like that's not really appropriate. You should treat people online the same way you would treat people in real life. So yeah, with respect to disagreeing, you know, the mummy stuff I think is very interesting. Now I'm trying to keep the case and what I've been talking about very pure. If I wasn't investigating MH370 in this way, I probably would be more out there with supporting other stuff and giving my opinions more fluidly on a lot of stuff that's out there. But I know that everything can be a vector of attack, and people will say, "Oh, if he believes the mummies, then you know that must mean that MH370 stuff's fake because that was cake or whatever." But the truth is, I'll just go and throw it out there. Is I think it's very possible those mummies are real. The question for me is simply, what are they? Does that mean that there is proof that something's visiting us, or that we have cousins on this planet that are related to us? And I've always found them to be pretty credible. I mean, these are mummies that showed up that people dug up. I don't think it's children bones and llama bones or whatever crap people are putting out there. And the reason why I say that is I've worked in healthcare my whole career, and people that are even x-ray technicians and other doctors can tell the difference immediately between something that's cobbled together and something that's not. In fact, that's how with paleontology works with respect to dinosaur bones and stuff like that. We don't find full skeletons of dinosaurs. Like, we find individual bones and then we are able to piece them together to figure out what they look like. Yeah, I think that those things probably are real. But you know, that's not really my area of forte. And so I support anybody who's out there pushing them. I would say that the things that I find most interesting right now regarding UFO community in general, outside of the MH370 stuff, which is, I look at it from the science perspective, but also the conspiracy perspective of 239 people disappeared, is the alien mummies, which I think probably deserve more attention than what they're getting. And I think there's probably a significant amount of disinformation to also get people to ignore them. But there's also this element of anything alien related. A lot of normal people are just going to straight up ignore it or discredit it. There's a lot of people out there that think that aliens can't be real or whatever. I'm not necessarily one of those people, but you have to realize there's quite a bit of resistance when presenting that kind of information out there. And then the other one actually is, I think, Jon Stewart's, that DNI alien interview video. I don't know, that something about that has always looked authentic to me. It's honestly just my intuition. I don't have hard evidence for it. But when I watch also his interviews, and I've seen quite a few with him, like, he comes off as a pretty normal guy that just found out some incredible information. And he doesn't even say he knows it to be 100% real. I think I actually asked him on Alien Addict what percentage. I think he said like 87% that he thought it was real. And going back to what Ian Carroll says, like, people that aren't 100% sure, like, those are the people we should probably be listening to. At the end of the day, the alien stuff for me is like, well, even if it's real, so what? Okay, so there's aliens out there. Like, I don't think that's too far-fetched. I think there's probably life everywhere in the universe. It's just a matter of how far away are they and can they get to us? So that's my opinion on that. Hopefully that answers your questions.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And it's all about, the science on it, because for a long time, for 20 years, I thought Out of the Skeleton, which was the skeleton that was 8 inches, that Dr. Stephen Greer showed 20 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's an alien. And I thought it was like an alien for like 15 years until I was on hashtag UFO Twitter. And so I was like, no. I could go into depth about it, guys, but it's not real. It's and it's actually, you look up peer-reviewed journal articles and you find out that Ada was actually just an anomaly of multiple genetic mutations built on top of it. She's such an anomaly that people study her to get more insight on genetic mutations and things, you know what I mean? So, and so the thing about the aliens is we still have the mummies. We still have to wait for the science to come out, and it could take 20 years. And right now there's such a weird discussion about, like, these scientists don't know what they're talking about, which is interesting to me. I don't have the overlay, but I've been flashing it around. But on the signature of where they all signed off on it, there's 11 scientists who have said that this is an actual organism. And to say that somebody like a dentist or an anthropologist can't look at a skeleton and come to the conclusion that it's a real organism is very concerning, to think that we could discredit all these scientists. It's very strange to me. I don't understand why they're so okay with discrediting. And I even said, okay, guys, show me show me the one that you should discredit. Show me the one. No one has been able to show me one of the scientists who could be discredited, because that's part of the game. That's part of the canceling. That's part of the, that's not real. That's fake. You know, we're living in this time of insane cancel culture, and it's ridiculous, and it's kind of disgusting. I'm going to be honest with you. I understand that we all got to be good people and do what we need to do to be good people in the world or whatever, but some of the stuff just goes way over the top. We use terms like racist, sexist, all the, I don't mean to go there, Ashton. We can push back and slow down, but you've been done so many interviews. I think you'll be fine if I give you crazy like I am. But that seems to be how we try to shut down people in this culture now. If you have something that you like to say, even if it's nothing to do with race, nothing to do with any of these things that people want to talk about, misogyny, whatever, it still seems to come up. It's like they'll find one little word that they find a way to cancel you, and they go for it. And the weird thing is how many people like go with it. Anyway, and I think cancel culture is on both the left and the right, guys. Because I see people are saying, you know, like it's on both sides. It's not just one or the other. But in terms of the cancel culture, I mean, I just think it's awful, Ashton. We should just be supporting each other.
It's huge in the UFO community. I mean, it's the very first thing anybody comes with a claim. The first thing people try to do is cancel them. We live in a post-truth world right now as well, where it doesn't even really matter if what you say is true or not. What matters is how you make people feel out there, which I think is really sad, because that makes it extremely difficult for people to get to the truth. If you say something that makes people feel upset or doesn't make them feel good, then the next thing you know is they're making up lies about you. And you guys have seen that about me. You're probably seeing it right now in the chat. Wouldn't surprise me. You see it everywhere all the time. And that it goes to show that this is not even really about, I would even say it's not even about trying to invent new technology. It might not even about trying to find aliens. Like, we probably already have found the answers to all those things. It's just been getting suppressed. It's an information war is what we're in right now. And this is another thing I would challenge the UFO community on. And I'm very open and honest about my strategy about MH370, my mindset, because the way I look at it is, if this stuff's real, then people in the intelligence community have been monitoring me. They know every single thing I'm thinking and doing. So I want the people out there to know every single thing I'm thinking and doing as well. Is that this is a matter of how you present the information, how you get the information out there to people. So just as an example, like Stephen Greer, he gets attacked because he does like CE5 and charges people to go out into the desert and like go see spiritual beings. And it's something that he's obviously passionate about, and he believes in himself, I think. But that takes away from his other half, which is he does these interviews with incredible people with firsthand accounts, people like Thomas Bearden, who's talking about over unity and free energy devices and scalar weapons and all this stuff, which I think is absolutely real. And this is what opens people up to criticism out there. And it goes again back to this idea of cancel culture and the post-truth world. So if you're somebody that wants to get stuff out there, you have to really look at it like an information war. And how are you going to get that information out there to reach the most people possible? And if your approach is, well, I'm trying to show people that aliens are real or that we might have that, then I think you want to frame it in a way where people can accept it. For example, the alien mummies, I would look at Homo nodeli. Homo nodeli was something that was this new variant of Homo, whatever sapien, like this, our cousins or our ancestors that go back almost 350,000 years ago, which is much more than Homo sapiens go back. And if you look at it from this perspective of like, how much do we even know about our own planet? I think you could very well argue that we have aliens on our own planet that aren't us. They're not humans that have been here. And the question is, how long were they here? And what can we prove related to that? I think those Nazca mummies can go a long way to trying to bridge that gap. And if you present it from a purely anthropological, I can't say that word right now.
Anthropological.
Thank you, anthropological perspective, then I think that you get a lot more people buying into it. But if it gets presented this idea that we've got these aliens, they must have come from another star system, then you're going to have a lot of people check out. So totally agree. And the last thing too, I guess, is like it isn't all left or right either. And like I said before, like we've got to get away, especially in the UFO community, of this idea of, oh, you're on the wrong side politically. I've had people just block me just because of my politics that literally want disclosure and like tell other people that they block me. It's funny because I go on UFO Twitter and people will ping me on people's comments for stuff they want me to see. And a lot of the time I go there and I'm blocked by somebody who I've never heard of before, ever, never interacted with before. And I'm like, this person literally just has me blocked because either the information I'm presenting is a threat to them or because they perceive me as like right wing or whatever. And that therefore my opinions and stuff are simply not valid to them, which blows my mind because that is like the recipe for never getting anything done. In fact, I would argue that intelligence communities and the people who are trying to suppress this information, that's what they love because they don't have to do anything. They don't have to get involved. If everybody's just fighting one another, nothing's getting accomplished. That serves their purposes exactly.
Oh man, I love it. I've got questions for you. This is great. And everybody stick around because we're not done yet, but we still have a couple more minutes. I've got a big question for you. And it's interesting to me because we touched a little bit. Obviously, the disinformation agents are everywhere. We don't need to talk about them. But have you personally, you don't have to go into specifics. I mean, number one, have government agents blatantly been like, hey, I'm a government agent, I'd like to talk to you? Has that ever happened to you?
Good question. No, that has not happened to me, but I do early on, especially, I had like pretty strict rules about not DMing me and trying to tell me what to think because I was, especially early on, I was trying to figure out what story made the most sense given the evidence. And I didn't want people trying to influence me one way or another. This meant that certain people got either booted from my Discord or blocked early on that were either on my side because, you know, they wanted it to be aliens and they were trying to convince me that it's aliens. Other people are trying to tell me, you know, there's no way the government can pull this off. I had people out there telling me that like it has to be contrails behind the plane, can't be smoke, it has to be coming from the engine, can't be coming from the hull, all this stuff where it's like, I don't want people doing that because that feels like disinformation. That feels like how somebody would reach out to you and try to influence you. But directly, no, I have not. But just like I think that the UFO celebrity people are on guard, I'm on guard as well from people trying to send me disinformation and stuff to believe out there. And it would not surprise me at all if people, those people think that I'm disinformation because of what I'm presenting is so paradigm shifting out there. And for like people like Jeremy Corbell, you know, my opinion of him is that he needs the phenomenon to be aliens. And that's what his real focus is. And so for somebody like me to come out there and say, no, what I'm seeing in these videos isn't aliens, this is our technology, I think that threatens what he's been pushing out there. And therefore he might think that I'm, you know, an agent that's trying to throw people off from it. But the truth is, like, I don't care if this doesn't make aliens not possible. In fact, I would say the ultimate question here is if this is our tech, where did we get it from? Did we come up with it ourselves? So no, and I've been trying to get somebody to knock on my door. I don't know if that's a smart move, but this is why I've been pushing so hard. This is why I've called the FBI and reported the information. This is why I've contacted the AARO. This is why I've done like everything I can to force someone to come knock on my door. Going so far as like I actually want to try to produce some of this stuff in a lab where like they have to literally come and knock. Because I'm trying to force a reaction. Now, hopefully that reaction isn't getting Boeing whistleblowered, but we'll see. And if that were to happen, I don't have any regrets on any of this stuff. I hope that people would look back at this and go, you know, at least he tried to do the right thing and getting the information out there. Yeah.
Okay, the universe has definitely called me to ask this final question, and it'll definitely take up 5 minutes, and then we'll be on our way. What about the Boeing whistleblowers? What do you think about all that? I mean, you're the perfect person to ask that. The universe was like hitting me all day being like, airplanes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the message for, what do you think about the Boeing whistleblower issues going on?
Well, I think it's extremely weird that Boeing airplanes are just falling apart left and right now. And some people would probably say, well, we're just noticing it now. No, I don't think airplane doors have just been flying off and wheels popping off and destroying cars and stuff like that all the time. I think it definitely shows that there's been some quality reductions. It wouldn't surprise me, especially in any free economy where there might be some corruption on the safety issues where corners are being cut. So from that perspective, that doesn't surprise me. I think it's pretty unlikely that these defense contractors are just outright straight up killing people in the open because of how much forensics there is. And the moment you add another person like a hitman, now you've got another loose end that you've got to tie up as well. As if they come out and say, I'm the guy that killed this person, then it starts to become pretty awkward. I think that most of it's more just disinformation. Is what they're trying to do is the same stuff they're trying to do to me, which is they try to discredit the person as much as they can in order to get the information that person's saying to go away. And so this is where I would expect more the vector of attack to be more along those lines. Now, if it gets really desperate, if you really back them into a corner, it wouldn't surprise me if they do hit you with the heart attack gun or whatever. But the other thing that's really scary is that I think they have so many different ways to take people out that they can absolutely make it look natural if they want to. And it's, it could be pretty much anything that they want. And this kind of relates to the MH370 videos, where the story that I think makes the most sense, although it's incredible, is that like we set that fire on board that plane to divert the plane and then warped the plane after that. And it was all part of one big plot. And you go, wow, that's like a movie. And that's the thing, is that, like, if they want to take somebody out, they can make it look like a movie. They can make it seem so incredible that people would think there's no way we can pull that off, but we can. They could poison you. They could poison you slowly over a period of time so that you just get sicker and sicker and sicker. I mean, I don't want to give them any ideas, but they can do some pretty dark stuff that would end up making it look natural, or just attack you psychologically. You just have a bunch of trolls attack you, and a lot of people psychologically can't take that either. So that's why I think I'm in a good place for this. The last thing I want to say on that front is there's something that Bob Lazar said to Joe Rogan, which I think is very important for people to understand, is that Joe Rogan basically asked him if he would do it again. Would he come out and do the same thing he did, where he went to the news, whatever? And he basically said no. He said, like, my life got ruined by this. People tried to discredit me, look into all my past. And they did. They did that. They ruined his life. And he said, I got to work with magical technology. I would just be quiet about it. The idea that you got to work with magical technology, and then I think the idea of, well, maybe we're not even ready for this technology. Maybe they're hiding it because of that reason. So if I did get reached out to, truth is, I probably would flip and just disappear and, stop talking about this. So, I think that anybody who's not honest with themselves on that front, then, I question them, because I think that most people, when given the opportunity, will, just give in.
I love it, man, because humility is the basis for being super intelligent. I always tell, in my world, I tell them, it's the smartest person in the room is honestly the one who doesn't think they know the most. And that's because that's how you can learn. That's how you can grow. That's how you can say, hey, I got this wrong. No big deal. Let me work through it and figure out how it makes more sense. That being said, Ashton,
can I follow up on that real quick too, actually? Because I thought about that. There's a lot of people that are probably skeptical and probably relate to this. And the answer is, this is not a marathon with respect to the MH370 case, is that I'm confident that it's real. And if it is, then the science will end up checking out over time. So for me, even though there's been this big blitz, I've been going on some of these big shows, I may even end up start taking a step back again, just because this thing has got its own life at this point. And I think as more science comes out, like quantum teleportation, other questions about trying to figure out the nature of dark energy, I think that more and more it will vindicate this case and vindicate the story. So I have no fear whatsoever regarding any of that. And then I just hope that the people who are listening right now, and even the detractors as well, is that when that happens, they begin to realize, like, no, this guy was telling the truth, and we have been suppressing the science out there. So I just want to thank everybody, and thank you as well. All the people in MH370X who've been, digging into this. I think the people who've been following for a long time, they know this stuff's real, because we've just found way too much evidence that corroborates everything.
100%, man. And I'm just so thankful that you had the bravery, that you have the intelligence, that you have the passion, that you have the work ethic to keep going and doing it. And, keep it up, Ashton. I can't wait to see what you do next, what you research next. That being said, is there anything you want to let everybody know in the UFO world before we go and tie it up?
No, just that, I appreciate you guys. And I think that we can get through disclosure. For the people that are skeptical, I would say have an open mind, because my true opinion is that I'm handing people disclosure on a silver platter, whether or not your belief is of whatever you want for non-human intelligence, or that you want technology to move forward. These videos are the potential doorway for that to happen. So even though I don't come out very openly about disclosure of non-human intelligence, the idea that we would have warp drive opens that door up, and then it makes it very possible. It goes to the idea as well of where did this technology come from? And I think those are going to be hard questions for the government to answer, especially if they've been suppressing it, going back to stuff like 1947, Roswell, and other cases that are out there. So thank you guys very much for having me, and the people that have welcomed me, thank you in the community. I appreciate you as well.
Well, we're Forbes here, so we're so thankful that you're here. Thank you so much, Ashton. I want to say bye to all the live chatters, and I'll put you in the gray room. I know you're a busy man, but if you stick back, I'll say hi too. All right, guys, I'm going to put, oh my gosh, guys, we had Ashton Forbes on. You heard it. Shout out to Greg. Thank you so much for the super chat. But other than that, you guys just chill here, and you'll be popped into the next live show that's going to blow your mind. It's another episode of the Nikki Starchild Show. Yes, we did it today at 4:30 p.m. And I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for coming. We got all the way up to 90 today because Ashton's here. And join me tomorrow. I'll be going live again early at the crack of dawn. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Peace, hearts. Bye. Let me get my music going.